Good afternoon. My name is Tom Malone. I am General Chairman of the Sheet Metal Air Rail Transportation Local 1413, representing tower operators. My union is also a member of the PATH Labor Council. Our Labor Council is made up of 8 unions on PATH and was established with the desire to expedite the bargaining process and bring an agreement that is fair and equitable to all unionized employees on PATH. This coalition was formed with the encouragement of the carrier's outside counsel and lead negotiator, Gary Dallaverson, who after 2 meetings with the coalition abruptly broke off talks with the coalition, instead telling the National Mediation Board that he wanted to hold talks individually. When talks were held over the last few weeks in Washington, D.C., with 3 individual unions on 3 separate occasions, he was not in attendance. I tell you this because the unions feel they wasted not only their time, but also their resources. To not have the lead negotiator in attendance and to once again leave negotiations with the same previous proposal was considered an insult. This proposal, if accepted as is not aligned with any of the recent commuter rail agreements that have been signed in regards to wages, health, and welfare, or pensions in our area. In over 50 years of PATH's existence, PATH Labor Relations has made it crystal clear we are not Port Authority employees unless it is beneficial to them. This round of bargaining being a perfect example. Benefits such as superior dental, life insurance, longevity, compensatory time, night differential, full-time union representatives paid in full by the Port Authority are only a few examples of the history of the Port Authority, citing that we are a railroad when it comes to bargaining. The biggest example of all being the difference in our pension. PATH retirees, unlike Port Authority unionized or exempt employees, do not receive a benefit from the NISLR, or in the case of PATH management, the PATH exempt supplemental pension plan. Unlike the PATH exempt plan, our plan is not a line item in the PATH budget. Our plan relies on investment returns and increases in contributions from the carrier. The union pension remains underfunded, and in repeated discussions with the carrier, they have indicated there is no pension money available unless we find an offset to pay for it. This request for funding and the retiree benefits it pays is much less than a PATH exempt pension plan in payment to the recipient and costs to PATH. The recent revision to the PATH exempt pension plan, which more closely aligns it with the NISLR, furthers the gap between our supplemental plan and either of the other pensions in the Port Authority and PATH. Many of our members' entire monthly pension benefit is less than the increase in benefits PATH managers are gaining from elimination of the rail retirement Tier 2 carve-out. PATH is taking a position we are locked into a pattern set by the Port Authority. This is patently false and is not supported by the history of labor relations. Since the expiration of our last agreements, I'll just stop there.
Tom, are you speaking for the entire group, or you have Mr. Lacy, Mr. Diego behind you?
Yes.
And-
Mr. Lacy, I have one.
All right, great.
He'll finish mine.
Can I?
Come on up.
Well, maybe we continue?
Yeah, so there's 4 people. Who's the
There's
4th?
2 speakers.
Only 2
We have
speakers?
2 letters to read.
Great.
Okay.
Continue.
Continue, thank you. Since the expiration of our last agreements, we have experienced a multitude of challenges that the unionized rail workers at PATH have met and successfully accomplished. Sandy reconstruction, a new fleet of rail cars, a new signal system, the first railroad to fully implement positive train control, and reconstruction of Harrison Station, to name a few. We are railroad workers, and as such, desire to maintain pace with the rail industry. Our jobs are the same as other railroads in the industry, whether it be an engineer, conductor, signal maintainer, trackman, car inspector, train dispatcher, or in my case, a tower operator. We participate in the same retirement system as all other rail workers and are governed by the same federal safety mandates as other commuter railroads in our region. 8+ years is long enough. It has come time for the carrier to come to the bargaining table with a clear directive from this board and get a fair deal done for the hardworking men and women on PATH. If not, we request you join us in petitioning the National Mediation Board to request a joint release so we can end the nearly decade of PATH railroad workers working without a contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's the next speaker? Mr. Lacy?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. I am General Chairman Daniel Lacy from ARSA Local 5075, speaking on behalf of the PATH Labor Council. We last became before this body on June 18, a year ago actually, requesting that the Executive Director Cotton and Chairman O'Toole intercede and jumpstart contract negotiations on PATH. At that point, 6 years into bargaining, none of the 10 unions at PATH had received an offer from PATH. Thanks to your intercession, we finally received an offer from PATH. We are back before you because PATH has not moved on their initial offers in the last year of bargaining. This included counteroffers from all PATH unions as well as PATH Labor Council, Coalition rather. When we were presented with a leave it or take it or leave it, to all 10 unions rejected that offer that was put on the table. The carrier's initial offer included significant changes to the health care and prescription coverages for the current employees proposed, placing all new hires in an EPO plan that has been independently evaluated as being the worst plan in the railroad industry. PATH has made these demands even though there is a cancer cluster, much of which is 9/11 related, exists and is growing rapidly in PATH. 3 of the members of the Union PATH Labor Coalition were in Washington for mediation on June 18th to June 20th. They were told emphatically by PATH that there would be no counteroffer and that the wage remains intact, which includes the insulting offer of 1.25 in 2013 to 2014, where our members virtually lived that path to restore service after Superstorm Sandy. They were told that there is no additional funding for our supplemental pension plan unless the unions funded out of where the wage proposals that were told to no uncertain terms that PATH would not fund any improvement to the pension plan. When they returned from Washington, the coalition members discovered that the PA had presented a document to June 20th, 2019, wherein they informed the PATH non-represented employees' staffs would be receiving a salary increase effective July 14th, which in many cases raised their salaries on an average of $15,000 to $20,000 annually, which when added to the raises they previously had received from 2012, the most PATH union contracts had expired, the amounts approximately 40% of increased pay, 5% annually, when we were being offered 1.25% for employees who slept on locker rooms and benches for weeks in time to ensure that PATH was the first to restore service after Superstorm Sandy. Many of these employees were dealing with family emergencies and devastations to their own homes, yet sacrificed and put our passengers and the railroad first. I'm going to pass over to Mr. Diego.
Brian Diego?
Yes.
Okay, the Port Authority made dramatic changes to the PATH employee exemption plan, removing the 45% retirement carve-out, along with easing investment requirements, which could amount to more than a $700 monthly increase to non-represented employees' pension, an amount that is in a line item in the PATH budget. There is no pension fund to support these increases. While the increase in pension contributions sought by the PATH unions to simply maintain the health of our pension fund is a fraction of the increase granted to non-represented employees. This June 20th action by the Port Authority was the ultimate slap in the face to every represented member in the PATH unions. We do not begrudge non-represented employees' wage or pension increases, but we demand that our members be treated with dignity, respect, and that they deserve. First and foremost, require a fair and equitable agreement. It is an outrage that this round of bargaining has dragged on for nearly a decade, a third of my career. The Port Authority has hired a consultant to negotiate on behalf of PATH, and I must remind you that during this round of bargaining, the same consultant was hired by the Long Island Railroad and New Jersey Transit, and he brought both of those railroads to the brink of a strike before they settled a deal. It is not our desire to go down that same road at PATH. Make no mistake, though, if this is the carrier's strategy, every union and every union member on PATH are fully prepared to do whatever it takes to achieve a fair contract. It's ironic to us that PATH has announced an ambitious $1 billion plan to improve service for our patrons, while the employees who will implement that plan are still paying their bills on wages from 2010 and 2011. We call on the chairman and executive director to take an active role and bring this arduous and long round of bargaining to a fair and equitable conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you very much.